Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very accomplished professional from Sydney, Australia, Mr. Alex Opacic. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Appreciate it, mate. Very excited to be on.
Thank you. Alex is the founder of Athlete to Business. He's also the co-host of Athlete to Business podcast. He connects ex-pro athletes who are high-performing business professionals with companies who can utilize their unique skills and experiences. Alex also helps athletes transition into a post-sport career by teaching them how to utilize their skills and experiences. So, Alex, before we speak about Athlete to Business, tell me a little bit about your own journey in brief.
Yeah, so basically back a long time ago now, I was a professional basketball player. Played basketball most of my life, pretty much growing up. I always wanted to be in the NBA. Never quite got to the NBA, but came close. I played college basketball in the US and then played professionally in Europe for a little bit as well. Had an absolute blast throughout that whole experience. And, you know, as I allude to it, it teaches you a lot about life and high-performing habits and how to chase success and work hard. And had 3 knee surgeries when I was about 24, so it halted my career to an end pretty much. And I had no idea what to do next, to be honest. Was pretty lost, and all I ever thought about was basketball. That's all I ever did. And my identity was tied towards basketball, so I was just completely lost once the injuries came and my career ended. But eventually, I landed on my feet as a business development manager in the media world and a little bit in tech, and did that for about 10 years. And just noticed a lot of athletes like myself, once they retire, they struggle with that transition phase. But I also noticed a lot of athletes in my network who were really good in business and highly successful. And that's really how the whole idea behind Athlete to Business derived.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing this. So let's talk Athlete to Business now, Alex. What are some of the more common challenges transitioning athletes face when entering the business world?
Yeah, look, the most common one is when they enter the business world, they're doing something completely different to what they've been doing. And most commonly, athletes find it really tough to do something that they're not passionate about. You know, I'll give you my example, which is magnified times 1,000, with all other athletes. Is all I've ever done was play basketball. I wake up in the morning and, I'm playing ball. I love what I do. I'm aspiring for something bigger and better. I have dreams, I'm dreaming something big, and I love it. It's my life. And then all of a sudden, you're able to work hard because you're really passionate about it. So once we do something else, I find a lot of athletes just find it really uncomfortable, weird, lacking fulfillment. There's no passion in what they do next. And it's unfortunate because it's really hard to compare something like in the business world or anything else to your sport, because it just never matches that passion that we had in sport. So I find the most common issue athletes have with the transition is getting used to doing something that they're not as passionate about.
Very interesting. And how do the skills and discipline that professional sports gives to an athlete translate into the business environment?
Most common skills are resilience, drive, that competitive nature, work ethic, ability to implement new strategies, new tactics really quickly into action. So I call it adaptability to change and implement those new strategies quickly. Those attributes serve you really well in business, especially within kind of business development, sales-oriented roles. You have to be resilient. As you know, business, there's lots of ups and downs. And you're not going to win all the time. I mean, if we all won in business, you would all be multimillionaires, right? It doesn't work that way. There's losses. It's tough. There's ups and downs that you battle with. So it's the same in sport. You lose more than you win, and that resiliency that you get from sport translates really well into business, because you need to be resilient. You need to be a disciplined individual in business as well to succeed. So I find those soft skills, those high performing habits, translate really well in a business environment.
Interesting. And how do you help athletes deal with identity loss or change when they move away from their sport?
I mean, it's not easy. I try and get them to focus on their values and see themselves. And some athletes don't have identity crises. You know, they're more than an athlete. Everybody, we're all more than an athlete. We're all more than what we do, but it's easier said than done, right? Like a lot of us tie our personality, our well-being to what we do, which is it's just how it is. It's just human nature. But I try and help them understand that you're more than what you do. You're a human being first and foremost, and that's one way. But if I can get more technical, I get them to focus all their energy and efforts into learning a new skill and upskilling themselves in something outside of sport, as opposed to finding passion straight away, or finding fulfillment. So I say, focus on upskilling and learning first, and have all your energy and focus towards that. And then you'll find eventually, passion and all that will find you. But at the same time, that identity that you had from sport will slowly disappear into this new thing that you're doing.
Okay. And is there a pattern of the former athletes finding good roles in a particular set of industries or a certain type of businesses where they can excel?
Yeah, most commonly I find athletes do really well in sales. So business development managers, account managers, relationship managers, sales directors, and then also sales leadership as well. Because again, going back to I said, the transferable skills, you have to be very resilient, competitive, driven, discipline, and those skills translate really well into sales. It's that rush. Let's use football as an example, the rush of scoring a goal. Like, it's a great adrenaline rush. Similar in sales, when you make a sale, you make a commission check. There's an adrenaline rush associated with that, which athletes love and love to chase.
Right. Very interesting. And Alex, are there any specific mindset shifts you emphasize for athletes moving into the realm of business?
Yeah, what I said earlier, more specifically around focusing on upskilling, learning, networking, meeting new people, really honing in on trying to be an expert in a new skill, as opposed to, hey, this doesn't feel as great as my sport, or I'm not as passionate about this as I was about my sport. Like, of course you're not. Nothing really compares to sport. It's just how it is. Just be grateful that you did it.
Correct.
Had that life, but now focus on learning and upskilling yourself in something new. So yeah, that's the most common mind shift I talk to about it with athletes.
Very interesting. Thank you. And what, in your view, are some of the foundational business skills you believe every transitioning athlete should develop?
I created an acronym for this, actually. The acronym is CHECK. It stands for CHEC. And communication skills, humble confidence, emotional intelligence, and commercial awareness.
Okay.
And I could break down those for you, but we would need a whole nother podcast on just those four topics, I think. But I think, yeah, those are the crucial. I don't know, you can call those soft skills, you can call those technical skills. I don't know, they're a bit of both, right? But I think, yeah, if you really communicate well and you're humbly confident, and you've got a high level of EQ and very strong commercial awareness, connecting the dots, how money is made, how to generate income, how to generate sales. I think if you become an expert in those four things, you'll dominate.
Amazing. I love the term humble confidence.
Humble.
That's a very powerful set of two words.
Yeah, it is.
Fantastic. So, Alex, what networking advice would you give to athletes who are starting fresh in a business environment? Because, as athletes, all of you are great networks within your athletics community or athlete community. But it's a whole new kettle of fish when it comes to the business world.
Yeah, it is. I mean, first thing I'll say is definitely go out there and network, connect with the sponsors of your club, those closely associated with it. But the most common networking tip I give to athletes, and a lot of people networking do this wrong, is that they like to go to a networking event and just talk and talk about themselves. And, I've done this, I've done that. But the best thing you can do, and I'm stealing this from Dale Carnegie, from How to Win Friends and Influence People. I'm sure you read that book as well. But it's be interested in other people. Talk, ask them questions, genuinely be interested in the person you're speaking to, and get to know them, make it all about them. And you'll find that people will remember you. When people talk about themselves in front of you, they'll remember you more than if you spoke about yourself in front of them. That makes sense. So yeah, be genuinely interested in other people.
Very interesting. And before I ask you my next question, can you give me an example of one or two athletes, without any names, of who you have helped and how they have transitioned?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few examples, which to give you a couple. There's one, a retired football player I worked with 3 years ago. He's about 34 years old, played professional football all around the world, and come back home to Australia. Obviously, I mainly operate in Australia and Southeast Asia, actually. And actually, I've done a bit of work in India as well.
Okay.
With a client there. But anyway, so this guy came back home to Australia, wasn't sure what to do next, retired from the game. I helped him land a role in recruitment, which is a sales role essentially. And he's done exceptionally well. So he progressed within the first year quickly. Second year, he was kind of on par to be a GM actually of the business. And third year, he's done exceptionally well for himself financially. And just grew as a person. And I've probably, I've got plenty of examples that where other athletes have excelled.
Yeah, what a great story. Thank you. My next question, Alex, is how does leadership on the field or in the court compare to leadership in the boardroom or at work?
It's very similar. You need to be tough, you need to motivate people, etc., etc. But I find the most different thing about it is leadership in sport is very direct, and especially, let's say, mid-game, there's a lot of adrenaline going and everyone's sweaty and we're screaming at each other, and the feedback in sport is usually direct, and sometimes it's confronting. There's little profanities used, but it's direct. If you're doing a horrible job, listen, you're doing a horrible job, you're being soft, pick your stuff up and let's go. You can do better than that.
Right.
You can't really say that in the boardroom, can you? It's a bit different in the boardroom in a sense of you just have to be a little bit more careful of how you deliver the message. And I think that's, to be honest with you, that's been the hardest thing I'm still trying to adjust. How do I have open, honest, direct conversations with people, I guess, without worrying about hurting their feelings, without worrying about being sent to HR, or I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, that's what I find is the most common difference. Sports just very direct, and there's not that there's egos in business. There's egos in sport as well, but people just don't take things personally. And whereas in the business world, you just kind of have to watch a little bit more about what you say.
Correct. And of course, there's much more politics.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's a little bit of politics in sport as well, but my coaches have grabbed my shirt before and kind of slamming against the wall. I've had a coach throw marshmallows at me in the past and say, "Hey, you're being soft. Eat this marshmallow." That's. But hey, I deserved it. I was being soft. Yeah. You can't really do that in the corporate in the boardroom, can you? Yeah. You can't hit people.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah. So my next question, Alex, is about personal brand. Athletes do have their own personal brand as they are, getting more and more successful on the sports field. How do you help them leverage their personal brand when they move into a business career?
I think in today's day and age, more than ever, athletes have an opportunity to really monetize their personal brand. And get out there and make something out of their personal brand. A simple thing, even if you have over 2,000 followers on Instagram, you've got something to work with there and take advantage of it. So a lot of times I help athletes realize the influence they have on their fans and help them monetize that with side hustle opportunities, product opportunities. But at the same time, I helped them. I was as an athlete, you're not going to be an athlete forever. And you're constantly on social media, you're on TV, etc., etc. So just be aware of how you're portraying your personal brand and how you're portraying yourself
Mm.
for future employers, future business opportunities, because sooner or later, you're going to have to get another job. You're going to have to do something else. And even if you were really successful and you don't have to work a day in your life anymore because you've got money left, right, center, you'll find most athletes still want to do something. So now, whilst you're an athlete, you've got this great opportunity to build a really good, strong personal brand for yourself. Because that you do all that work now, it'll open up so much opportunities for you once you retire from the game.
Well said. And like all athletes during their sports career in the corporate world, also there are setbacks and failures. How do you help athletes handle setbacks or failures in the business world, more particularly in cases where people have been highly successful in sports?
Yeah, I mean, those that were highly successful in sport would have had some sort of setbacks throughout their career as well, So it's just basically reminding them, hey, you've done this before, you've bounced back, and look what you did in your previous career. You can do the same. To be honest, I think a lot of athletes don't have as I said, going back to the resilience piece, like they don't have a lot of trouble returning from setbacks, because they've done it before. But I just remind them, hey, look, you've had setbacks in your sport before, and you've done X, Y, Z to be successful. Here's what you can do the same. Like you've got yourself an opportunity. Here's a bit of a setback for you. Let's bounce back. Let's get that
right.
Mamba mentality on. Let's get after it.
Well said. So I have time for two more questions for you. My next question is that, do you think every athlete should pursue a career in business post sports, or are there other avenues they could consider?
Oh, of course, there's other avenues. I mean, it depends on what you want to do. Some become investors. I guess that's still kind of business. I guess it depends on what you define as business, right? Others go into coaching. But yeah, of course, there are other avenues to pursue as well. A lot of athletes naturally will go back and coach in their sport and give back. Some do community work, some do charitable work. I guess it just depends on your personal circumstance.
Yeah. And my last question to you, and this is for the many people who will listen to our conversation. As you said a few minutes ago, that the sporting life of an athlete is understandably finite. Some people will be few years, some much longer. I'd love to get some perspectives from you on when they should start to plan life post their athletic career, and what are some of the common mistakes a lot of these people do tend to make.
They should start planning as soon as possible. So my advice, as soon as you become a professional athlete, right there and then, you should immediately start planning for your future career. And there's a number of ways you can do that, right? But just be aware of it and start planning straight away. Because the common mistake is that those that don't plan, like I didn't. When I was a professional basketball player, that's all I ever did and thought about. You'll find there's stats that back this up. I can send you a few articles, but you'll find when athletes focus on something else outside of their sport, or are undergoing maybe education, side hustles, other endeavors outside of their sport, it actually makes them perform better on the court or field or pool, track, ice rink, whatever, because they're kind of internally, it's kind of like less pressure on you to perform the sport. Because hey, I've got this other thing going on as well. I'm not just playing that. This isn't just my livelihood here, sport. I've got other stuff going on. It actually makes you perform better as an athlete.
Well said. And on that note, Alex, and your incredible thoughts about athletes and the amazing work that you're doing, thank you so much for speaking to me about your own journey. Thank you for speaking to me about athlete to business and all the different things that you're doing to support athletes. And thank you again for talking to me about what goes into the mind of an athlete and how they are able to really change their career or transition from a sporting career into life after sports. Thank you for speaking to me, and good luck.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me on, and had an absolute blast.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the brand called You Videocast and Podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called You.